and welcome to Talkin Tuesday. Today's Talkin Tuesday is going to be a little bit different, but we're going to talk about foods that you think are unhealthy that are actually really good for you. And some of you guys may already know these foods, and this may be really pointless to some of you who've already done your research, but I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are still kind of under these misconceptions, and I kind of wanted to bring those to the surface and talk about them a little bit. Most of our Talkin Tuesdays are usually skincare or body issue related or social related, and it's where we ask questions and answer them. So this is a little bit different because I'm just going to be giving you kind of a couple foods that are actually healthy for you, why people think they're unhealthy, and what actually makes them healthy instead of unhealthy. Also, I just did this eye makeup tutorial and I felt really spiffy about it because I've been using it for a while, and I was like, you know what, I'm finally just going to upload it, and it was a request for you guys. So blah 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 blah, Cassandra, let's get to the foods. I will link that video to you, and now we will start. The first food that you might think is unhealthy is eggs, and I'll tell you a little bit about why people think they're unhealthy and why they're actually good for you. Eggs have a high level of cholesterol. I think it's something like 300 milligrams per egg, and for a long time in the 80s and the 90s, everyone was saying avoid eggs, don't eat more than 1 or 2 eggs a week because it'll raise your cholesterol. Au contraire. So actually, eggs are a very, very, very healthy source of a whole bunch of different nutrients. They have tons of different vitamins, tons of different minerals, and in addition, they're fairly low in calories and are really high in protein. They hardly have any carbohydrates, they have no sugars, and they're really just a whole protein that our body can use really, really easily. They're not super high in fat. They do have a little bit of saturated fat, but here's the good thing. And they are high in cholesterol, but here's what's up. Studies have shown that they do not actually raise our cholesterol, the bad cholesterol. We have LDL and HDL, good cholesterol and bad cholesterol in our body. Eggs, just like olive oil, raises the good cholesterol, and the good cholesterol is what fights the bad cholesterol. So when we were freaking out about this cholesterol number on the egg, it's really the good cholesterol that we should be eating. Sometimes eggs do have saturated fat, but really keep us fuller longer. Because eggs have that fat and because eggs have that protein, it will kind of react in our body differently, if that makes sense. If we eat something that's really, really sugary, it'll just turn into sugars in our body and ready to use immediately. Fats and proteins, like found in the egg, are going to take a lot longer to digest, so we feel fuller longer. So that's kind of why people thought it was bad, and why I personally and some scientists have shown that it's actually good for you. Next one kind of goes with the fats as well, and it's nuts. There are many people out there that try to avoid nuts, and I think that nuts have kind of gotten a bad rap. They're kind of getting a better rap, and you may already know this, that they're healthy, but for those of you who don't know already, I just wanted to put it out there for you. People thought that nuts were bad because they did have a very high fat content. A fourth cup, which is half the palm of my hand, could have about 200 calories and about 16 to 20 grams of fat. Now, people were freaking out about that, but let me tell you something. Nuts are so healthy for you. They're full of vitamins, full of minerals, full of healthy fats, just like the egg, and most of them have a ton of vitamin E, which is great for our skin. The other thing is that sometimes nuts are salted. That's not the best, but what's great is that nowadays you can find them organic, raw, unsalted, all sorts of different variations depending on what you need. So people were freaking out about this fat content, but let me tell you about why nuts are perfect for you. First off, you're gonna freak out about this, but fat does not make you fat. Okay? What it is, if you eat too much of anything, you will get fat. But let's say you eat a ton of sugar, you're going to get more fat eating the sugar than if you... My kitty. If you eat a ton of sugar, you're going to get fatter from eating the sugar than if you ate the same amount of fat, if that makes sense. And the reason why, let's say you ate 300 calories of sugar and you ate 300 calories of fat, and you had to choose. If you ate the fat, you'd gain less than the sugar. The reason why is because sugar is metabolized by our body like this. It'll go straight to our bloodstream, and if we do not burn it off immediately, it'll be stored as fat. Now fat, although it's called fat, it doesn't have that process as quickly. Fat takes longer to digest, so that means we have a longer time to use it. Let's say we ate that sugar, we have to burn it off in 1 hour, otherwise it's stored as fat. If we eat the fat, we have 5 hours to burn it off, and it's a lot easier to burn that off through 5 hours than 1 hour. In addition, when we eat that fat, we'll feel fuller longer, so we eat less throughout the day. So because nuts are so high in fat, it's also a good fat, which is great for our heart, great for our skin, great for our hair, great for our overall function. Because it's so healthy for us, I don't see why we shouldn't eat nuts and seeds and things like that all day. So nuts have kind of gotten a bad rap for that, but I think that, goodness kitty, I think that people nowadays are kind of understanding that nuts are a bit more healthy, but for those of you who didn't know, I just wanted to put it out there. Something else that a lot of people have been avoiding are different breads, and we actually have a video on white bread versus whole grain bread versus whole wheat bread versus 100% whole grain versus multi-grain to kind of clear up all those misconceptions. But something that people look at is they see sourdough bread. Sourdough bread is a white bread, and they look at it and they're like, oh, that's white bread, it's not healthy for me. Sourdough is not the best choice of bread, but it's not as bad as you think. The way sourdough is processed, it's processed with different yeasts and different wheats, and it usually has a bit more holes in it, if you guys have noticed. So yes, it's the color white, but it's not as bad for you as white bread. So sourdough gets a bad rap because people look at it, they see that it's white, and they say, I'm steering clear of this. When in reality, a whole grain or 100% whole wheat is better for you, but sourdough is much better for you than white bread. And a lot of people don't understand that. And same with rye bread. Rye bread can sometimes be brown, but if it's a lighter color, people try to stay away from it because it's white. But bread all boils down to the ingredients. You have to read the ingredients. Anyways, the way sourdough works, it's kind of like the fats. It's processed differently. It doesn't turn into sugar like this in our bloodstream. So we have longer to kind of burn it off, so it doesn't do what the white bread does. White bread is basically sugar. It'll just go like this to our bloodstream. Whole wheat bread goes a little bit slower like the fat, not as slow as fat, but it still kind of takes its time. Now sourdough, kind of in between, but it's not nearly as bad as a lot of people think it is. So if you go to the restaurant and they have white bread or sourdough bread, don't completely turn the restaurant down just because they don't have 100% whole wheat. You can still get the sourdough, and it actually tastes pretty good as well. A lot of people have also been avoiding is high sugared fruits. I've heard a lot, don't eat pineapple, don't eat mango, it's so full of sugar. Yes, that's true, and no, sugar isn't the best for you, but let me tell you, sugars from fruits are the best places to get sugars. If you are going to eat, even if bread sometimes has sugars, which is ridiculous. Read your bread, you'll probably find sugar in there. It's awful. But sugars from fruits, yes, they're high in sugar, but it's a good sugar for you. No, sugar in all forms isn't great. No, these cherries, mangoes, pineapples, it's better to eat an apple probably. But these have so many fresh nutrients and vitamins and minerals. They have fructose, which is a fruit sugar. A lot of the sugars that we eat are like, you know, like fructose or sucrose. Sucrose is a really bad sugar, or maltose. Those are in synthetic products that turn into glucose, which is the sugar our body uses immediately. Now, fructose is the sugar that fruit has, and it still gets turned into glucose in our body eventually, but because it comes with so many antioxidants, so many minerals, and so many amazing fresh vitamins, it's really not nearly as bad for you. So if you're having a sugar craving, put down the frickin' cake and go ahead and grab yourself a mango or pineapple or something like that. The last thing that I want to talk about is popcorn, and a lot of people stay away from this. Don't get popcorn, it'll make you fat, da 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 da. Let me tell you, popcorn is a whole grain. We have a video on whole grain versus white grains and things like that, which you need to see in order to understand this, but popcorn is an entire grain, which means it is not white and bleached and processed like a lot of these other grains are. So popcorn in essence is kind of like whole wheat bread. Popcorn in essence is kind of like quinoa or steel cut oats. It's a whole grain, and it's not going to go as quickly in your bloodstream. What makes popcorn unhealthy is the butter that the movie theater puts on it and all that kind of stuff. But if you get the kernels at home, you can cook them even in olive oil. They taste amazing. You can season them with garlic and all sorts of stuff. First off, it's filling. Second off, you know, they're very low in calories, considering 6 cups is like, what, 300 calories, and 6 cups is like an entire bowl practically. Just be careful of the salt, but because they're a whole grain, they will kind of control that hunger. It'll take longer to digest in your body, and overall, it's a pretty good choice. So those are some foods. You probably already knew it if you are really into researching health and stuff. But if you didn't, I just wanted to put it out there for you and kind of share with the people who don't understand. So if you guys know of other foods that are bad foods that are actually good for you, be sure to post them in the bottom comments and tell us a little bit about why people think they're bad and why they're actually good for you, or foods like that that you know of. If you guys like the tutorial, be sure to go check it out. It'll all be in the bottom tab. And I really look forward to reading your responses and talking to you all in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.